Today, I am going to be sharing some very important information as it pertains to the VA disability compensation claims process. And so I'm going to be discussing a non-VA non-regulation. Okay, again, a non-VA non-regulation. This gets veterans in trouble almost 100% of the time when they're dealing with their claim. And I must forewarn you, the information I'm going to share with you is disturbing. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD89 VA Claims Consulting, United States Army veteran, and retired VA rating specialist. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing some disturbing news, so I must forewarn you that the information I'm going to share is very disturbing. So if you don't want to click away, I definitely understand. If you want to find out the information that I'm going to share, stick around, okay? And I'm going to give a full explanation, all right? So today's video, the one non-VA non-regulation that gets vets into trouble every single time, they said. I cannot tell you how many times I heard somebody say, they said, they said, they said, okay? So this is my definition of they said. When a veteran hears something about the VA compensation claims process without no VA 38 CFR regulation, M21 manual reference, or VA court case to bag it up, okay? Again, when a veteran hears something about the VA compensation claims process with no VA 38 CFR regulation, M21 manual reference, or VA court case to bag it up. I call this being in a VA world of hurt without being educated on the process, okay? So that's my definition of they said, all right? Now, let me give you some examples of they said. They said if a lawyer representing me, my claim will get approved and approved faster. The answer to that is no. When I was a rating specialist, I didn't care who was representing the vet. If it was a lawyer, claims agent, VSO, or your congressperson sent in a letter, I still had to follow the VA guidelines, okay? So I'm not saying don't have representation. That's your choice. But what I'm saying is don't think, oh, I'm gonna roll over to this law firm and they're gonna get it for me. They're gonna get me approved, and not only are they gonna get me approved, they're gonna get me approved faster. No, it doesn't work that way, all right? There's no regulation that states, oh, RVSR, the veteran has a lawyer representing them, rate it really fast. No, doesn't work that way, okay? Now, moving on to the next one. They said, if I open up a new claim when I'm 100%, the VA rater guarantee will go back and look at everything. The answer is no. When I rated the hundreds of claims I adjudicated, I could count on one hand why I had to go back and look at something. But I wasn't going back and looking through the entire file. There's no regulation that told me, Dwayne, if a vet comes in that's 100% permanent total and claims something totally new or increase in something they already have, you have to go back and look at everything. Now, if it was for an increase, I did go look at the previous code sheet just to make sure that they were actually service connected for the condition they're saying they want an increase for, okay? Now, there are some outliners where I did have to go back and dig. But it wasn't because I had to, it was because the vet got caught with their hand in the cookie jar and they did something years ago or got service connected for something years ago that they knew they weren't supposed to get service connected for. So they said, oh, well, I'll wait a few years. They won't know. And they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. But again, I could count on one hand how many times that happened, okay? But it's not guaranteed, no, okay? I haven't seen a regulation on that. All right, the next one. They said I have to be treated at the VA hospital for a year and obtain a mountain of evidence before filing my first claim? No, that is far from the truth. I filed my first claim with no evidence. I eventually sent in a couple of documents later on my own that I obtained from my private examiner, okay, and was able to get service connected. I've rated hundreds of claims where veterans didn't submit anything, went to the C&P exam, and the doctor gave a positive opinion. Now, on the flip side of that, I rated other claims where veterans submitted a claim and actually submitted evidence. And guess what? Some of those got denied. All right? So it doesn't mean you having all this mountain of evidence that is going to be automatic. Okay? Now, could it help? Yes. Now, with that being said, woo, you got to remember VA employees on quotas. You mess around and send in 5,000 pages or something, and you only need one page out of the 5,000, what are the chances of that VA employee missing that? Okay, they're human. Stop thinking that these VA employees are superheroes and they can go through all this paperwork, read it line by line, and not miss something. Okay, I've seen that. I've seen veterans send in 5,000 pages, and guess where they got them from? They went to the VA hospital and pulled out all of their VA medical progress notes and sent it to VBA. Guess what? As a rater, we have access to Veterans Healthcare Administration Veterans Progress Notes. And we can do a quick search, okay? So again, you gotta be educated on this process and what things are happening behind the scenes. And this is what I'm trying to explain to you all in these videos, okay? Now, the next one. They said, I have to report to a C&P exam when I have a sufficient DBQ and or nexus statement. Now, there are regulations in the 38 CFR that tells the VA rater or employee or adjudicator, whoever, if you have medical evidence that you can use to adjudicate the claim without an exam. So again, sufficient DBQ and or nexus. Okay, now, veterans, we have to take accountability and make sure that whatever evidence that we're submitting and we're expecting them to use, you already have made up in your mind, you're not going to the exam, it has to be sufficient. So I'm not telling you to go or not go. That's a decision that you have to make. A lot of veterans, some veterans have, pushed back and say, Dwayne, why can't you just tell us to go or not to go? I'm not going to do that. This is your claim. Because if I say, oh, veteran John Doe, don't go. They don't go and you get denied. Well, you got me denied. You put me in a bad spot. I'm not saying that. I know what I did. With my claim, I decided not to go because I knew my DBQ was sufficient and the rater could use it. Now, also, that being said, I've been seeing that some VA employees, adjudicators are saying, oh, your doctor was out of state, like you can't do a telehealth appointment. I do mine all the time through my private insurance. I'm always getting somebody out of Minnesota or somewhere up north, okay? But they won't accept, some VA employees don't want to accept a DBQ from your doctor who could be out of state, okay? And second, but they will accept a DBQ from a third-party examiner that's out of state, okay? So again, I'm constantly going to the VA's website, the M21, to see any updates, especially on this particular topic. That's why it's important to get educated, stay updated, because they could change something and they could make it a requirement. Hey, if a DBQ comes in and the doctor is out of state, don't accept it. I haven't seen a regulation as of yet, but for some reason, some VA employees are starting to put this in rating decisions, okay? Now, the next one, they said, if veteran is service-connected for PTSD, they can claim another mental diagnosis, example, anxiety, depression, and obtain another percentage for the new mental diagnosis. No, you are a no-go if you do that. If you file a claim with service-connected for PTSD, let's just say at 50%, and you come in and claiming depression, or vice versa, that VA employee is going to take that for a claim for increase, okay? And what you're really going to be hurt because most veterans do not look to see which diagnostic code, well, in this case, any diagnostic code under mental condition, all the criteria is the same. But a lot of veterans do not take the time to go look at the diagnostic code for the condition they're claiming to see the criteria. And in this case, they cannot assign a separate evaluation for another mental diagnosis because that is called pyramiding. So again, you have to be educated on the process and understand what you're doing when it comes to your claim. I talk to veterans and they're like, oh, I'm service-connected for depression. And then they said I could claim PTSD under the PACT Act or something. You know, come on, okay? This is what my videos are doing, is trying to educate you on this process, okay? I rated hundreds of claims and I've seen it day in and day out. And guess what? Since I've retired and started my business the last 4.5 years, I still hear veterans doing the same thing, okay? Let's get educated. All right, and the last one. They said I can't be service connected when I'm enlisted in the National Guard or Reserves. Again, that is false. But there is a but. If you are ever called up to active, if you're service connected, if you're in the Reserve and National Guard and you're service connected, let's just say at 70%, you get orders to go on active duty for a year. You need to contact the VA and say, hey, stop my compensation. I am going on active duty. You cannot double dip. I've seen veterans like, oh, the VA's not going to know. Oh, they may not know immediately, but a year or two down the road, when they find out, oh, you went on active duty and you were still, or you could be 100%, right? And let's just say you're 100%, you go on active duty for a year and you don't tell the VA, and then a year later you get a letter in the mail saying you owe a debt and we're going to withhold your compensation until we recoup that debt. We have evidence showing you went on active duty on this date to this date. We were paying you monthly with dependents at this amount. This is how much total your debt is going to be, and we're going to start withholding it, okay? So you have to understand that, all right? But you can be service connected and be in the National Guard or Reserves. You can't double dip if you go on active duty. All right, so again, the non-VA, non-veteran regulation as it pertains to the VA compensation claims process, they said gets veterans, a lot of veterans, in a pickle every single time, especially if you cannot bag it up with a 38 CFR, an M21, or a court case, okay? So don't let it happen to you. And with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.